This is a rapidly evolving situation, and the fact that a nuclear power plant has been blockaded, is surrounded by military forces, is subject to fire with significant weapons, is an extremely concerning situation. This site has 6 large nuclear reactors. It's one of the 10 largest nuclear sites in the world. It provides about a quarter of Ukraine's electricity normally. So there's a massive inventory of fuel both in the reactors and highly radioactive and very hot spent fuel, so used fuel in the spent fuel pools for cooling. So it is very dangerous and alarming situation.
What do you know of its proximity to major cities?
It's about 300 kilometres west of Donetsk, and it's on the main pathway that Russian armed forces seem to have been taking from that Russian-occupied region. It's near the town of Anahoda, which has apparently come under attack and invasion by Russian forces. And it's right on the Russian side of the Dnieper River. So it's really on the path of the conflict, and the fact that it's already been surrounded, and Ukrainian forces and civilians, by all reports, have been blockading the plant in recent days speaks to its strategic location.
And given the very obvious nuclear threat that is posed here, do you expect that this site and other nuclear power plants in Ukraine are of immense strategic importance for Russian forces?
We haven't had much indication yet. This is the first report that I'm aware of them invading a functioning nuclear plant. But I think it's important to remember that the Chernobyl plant in the north of the country, and not very far north of Kiev, is on really the route that Russian forces took to invade from Belarus from the north. And they occupied and took that site and occupied it. And according to a letter that Ukraine has sent to the United Nations General Assembly and Security Council members, held the 92 staff and 130 security personnel at gunpoint. So actually physically took control of the plant. So from the Russian military point of view, because nuclear power provides about half of Ukraine's electricity, because electricity is essential for the functioning of modern civilian society as well as military forces, and given now what we're seeing, a sort of siege and blockade strategy emerge around major population centres that Russian forces are taking, given that the advance has perhaps been slower than they expected, one of their strategies may be to disrupt the power supplies to cities, to a significant part of the country. So it's quite possible that nuclear power plants could be involved in several ways, by the Russians trying to stop them, by fights over control of them. They could be targeted, mistakenly perhaps, or deliberately by munitions. And as your previous guest noted, the reactors and the swimming pools basically that contain the spent fuel need constant cooling. If the power or the water supply are disrupted to one of these pressurized water reactors, then a meltdown will occur in about a minute. So it's absolutely critical that the infrastructure and the staff to provide that power, water and expertise is maintained whatever happens in the conflict. Otherwise, the potential for one or potentially even more radiological disasters is very real.
There has been no appetite from Western nations to put international forces on the ground inside Ukraine. Could a nuclear threat, could a nuclear threat bring about a change in thinking on this particular point, or should it?
I think the most crucial thing is that, anything that will inflame the military situation, increase the stakes, increase the prospects of escalation, both conventional or heaven forbid, nuclear, would exacerbate these risks. So, it's really difficult to advise what needs to happen. But from an immediate point of view, in terms of stopping a major radiological disaster that could spread radioactive fallout across Europe and Asia, it's absolutely crucial that these facilities are not military targets, that they're respected by all sides of the conflict, that the personnel supplies power and water that they need to keep functioning safely are maintained. And whatever the international community can do through the International Atomic Energy Agency to maintain those services, we should do. The Ukrainian government has already said in that letter that it's written to United Nations members that it can no longer meet its obligations to the International Atomic Energy Agency for nuclear safety and security. So this is a really concerning situation, and it's possible that some international independent force through the International Atomic Energy Agency could play a very useful role here. But this could add, if things go badly here, this could add a very significant nuclear dimension to this conflict, even if nuclear weapons aren't used.